We got action. Matt Campbell is no longer going to be the head coach at Iowa State. He's taking his talents to Happy Valley. That's reported by Pete Nakos, Chris Lowe, Brett McMurphy, the entire team at On 3. This is huge. If you're a Penn State fan, you're probably breathing some sigh of relief and saying, okay, thank goodness we actually did go out and get a somewhat splashy hire. We will break down all of it. We'll break down what this means for Penn State. We'll break down why this makes sense for Matt Campbell. Before we do that, obviously, we're about that life. We're recording an impromptu in-home reaction to Penn State's hiring. If you're a college football sicko like us, make sure to subscribe right here on 3 college football year-round. So we appreciate you in advance for being locked in. Here's my number one thought from a Penn State fan when I see this news break over at on3.com from the On3 team. Okay. All right. Maybe this wasn't the way that we thought this would go. Maybe this wasn't someone that we had on our bingo card from the jump when it came to who we might grab as the next head guy at Penn State. But the fact that we got somebody, and somebody of note, and a one Matt Campbell, okay, cool. It wasn't this massive irresponsibility by firing James Franklin. Because I think for a minute there, the longer you sat with this vacancy and the more names that ended up not being your head coach, from a Kurt Signetti to a Matt Rule to a Kalani Sitake, you're like, did we make a mistake here? Should we have just thugged it out and stayed with James Franklin? Like, did we maybe get a little bit premature here in terms of our action? And what I want to say is, one, no, that's not the case. Even before hiring Matt Campbell, I don't think that was the case. I think the situation had soured from the jump. And then two, the fact that you hired Matt Campbell makes that feel even more like the reality for it. Okay, now what are you getting Matt Campbell? You're hiring consistency. You're hiring toughness. You're hiring a culture guy. You're hiring someone that is going to keep Penn State's floor enormously high. Because I think that was also kind of the worry the further this thing drug on was, hey, we fired our head coach that won us 10 games every year. The more names that come off the board, it feels like the variance around what Penn State could be here year in, year out, the likelihood of that seems to increase with each passing day. Did we just, go for 2 in the bush when we had 1 in the hand, and now we got 0 in the bush? We got 0. That now we're just up a creek with no paddle. That was, I think, the way that you felt. Matt Campbell, in his 10 years at Iowa State, 72 and 55. Okay, so you look at that and you say, JD, that's like rounding up 57% of his games. He's won over 10. It doesn't really get me that excited. We hired a guy to go win a national championship. We fired a guy so we could hire a guy to win a national championship. Is your thought process there? That doesn't really get me going. I hear you, but roll with me here for a second. Think about what Iowa State football was before Matt Campbell got there. It was losing season after losing season, and Matt Campbell comes in, elevates them to, in my opinion, consistently like that top tier of the Big 12 conference. Every single year, you knew that you would deal with Iowa State, they would be a tough out. That was not the case before he got there. And the breakup between Matt Campbell and Iowa State, to me, makes a good bit of sense because what I just said a second ago, Matt Campbell elevates Iowa State, but I think he had kind of reached his limit over there. I think he had kind of reached more or less the ceiling of what he's going to accomplish. I think Matt Campbell only makes this move if he thinks he has more in the tank, if he thinks he can go win a national championship as a head coach, should he have a little bit more brand power behind him, more resources, potentially more personnel. And if you're Penn State, that was why you fired James Franklin, because you believed there was more ahead of you and you wanted to break through that door and go win a national championship. So what I'm trying to say here is, mentality-wise, the head coach you just hired and where Penn State is right now, you are attached at the hip. And whenever that's the case, whenever there's alignment between the school and the program's vision and the incoming head coach's vision, and he's got something to prove, I think that's a really good thing. Also, going back to Iowa State for Matt Campbell, the thing that excites me about this hire for Penn State is I kept watching Penn State the last couple of years against the Ohio States of the world and the Oregons of the world, and more often than not, the Michigans of the world. And even though Penn State was competitive, and even though it was typically in a lot of cases 1-score games, or they were close in the second half, whatever it was, I never really felt like Penn State had the better players. Maybe they had a couple players that were on par. Tyler Warren's phenomenal. Abdul Carter's a freak show. But you hear what I'm saying. It wasn't like Penn State was necessarily on the same playing field as some of those top-tier programs in the Big Ten that they would have to get through to go win the conference title. Matt Campbell, I don't think you're going to be able to recruit with the Ohio States of the world or the Oregons of the world. If you do, more power to you. If Penn State is super serious on the NIL front and that changes things, awesome. But the reason why I like Matt Campbell is because he hasn't really been working with elite personnel over the course of his career at Iowa State. What he did was develop, evaluate talent at a high level. And then once they got to Iowa State, they ended up being your Brock Purdy's of the world. Brees Hall was a high level recruit, but still ended up, I think, evolving into even more than what Iowa State originally thought they were getting in him when they got him out of high school. So this idea of being able to spot talent, evaluate it, and then take that 3-star and have him be a 5-star by the time they leave Happy Valley, that gives me a lot of encouragement if I'm a Penn State fan. So is this going to work? I don't know. I have no idea if this is going to work, but on paper, I love the alignment from a mentality perspective. I love what Matt Campbell brings when it comes to his background of doing more with less. I love the fact that Penn State now made a big hire, not just settling for, how do I put this lightly? Not settling for just going with the interim, because that would have kind of felt like the white flag and maybe, hey, should we have even fired James Franklin in the first place? Penn State fans, it was a long road. I know it felt very turbulent at times, but you got yourself a head coach who aligns with what I think you want to accomplish at the highest level. And that's the same with his own career, and also gives you an identity and a high floor here going forward. So, then the Lion fans, get in the comment section. Go ahead and give us a letter grade here on this hire of Matt Campbell, set to be the next head coach in Happy Valley. For Cato on the ones and twos remotely now, for myself, Judy Pickell, make sure you're following on the Instagram and Twitter handles over there on those social platforms at Judy Pickell, and also make sure you're subscribed here. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.